Alright, hey everyone, welcome back. Today's video is going to be about my bug out bag philosophy. I don't know about you guys, but I've experienced a lot of frustration in the past regarding how to put together a comprehensive bug out bag. It seems like everyone on YouTube and online has their own ideas and opinions about what should be in a bug out bag. And so what I try to do today is put together my list of categories which then you can layer on top of depending on constraints as far as weight and your own location and different specific needs. Let's get into it without delay. Okay, first of all, I just wanted to point out one major difference between Dave Canterbury's 10Cs and a slight modification I made. So in his 10Cs of survival, you'll notice that there is cargo tape and then canvas needle or cloth sail needle is its own category. I've gone ahead and combined these two because they kind of serve the same purpose. Tape and needle thread are both used to repair things. So I've added those together in the same category. And then clear water is a category meaning just water purification. So we'll get into that. But first of all, let's start off with the first category, which is cutting tool. Okay, cutting tool is pretty self-explanatory, but I wanted to go over some options. Depending on where you're at, you can choose between a fixed blade knife, and I'll show you an example here of mine. So this is a Survive Knives GSO 5.1. Kydex sheath, I bought this from the Knife Connection. It's just a ferro rod with a similar G10 color handle. I put this on too, it's an SE little pouch, and this is the Survive Knives and Magna Cut. Fixed blade knife is good if you are planning to be outdoors. Good for processing wood, prying things, just an all-around good survival tool. And then one thing I'd like to include with all my knives as well is a way to sharpen. So this is a Fallkniven sharpening stone DC3. So it's got a ceramic side and a diamond side. But this would be an option for the first layer if you are going to be outdoors. However, if you are more in a urban setting in a city where you're not planning to be betoning and chopping down trees for shelter, then a good option for a first layer would be something like this Leatherman Surge multi-tool. And I'll get into everything in this pouch in a second, but it's got everything you need as far as it's got a blade, it's got a pretty good decent pair of scissors, you have a adaptable, so this is a file, but I'll show you in a second that it can actually take saw blades as well. And then one that I don't use that much, which is just the serrated knife. But additionally, it's got a bunch of tools on the inside. So like I said, this would be good for your first layer for a cutting tool if you're in an urban setting where you're not going to be really needing a large fixed blade knife. I'll get into the saw adaptions right now. So the reason I like to keep the file in here is that I can then take this out and use this diamond side as a sharpening stone for the tool itself or other tools if I have other tools. And then additionally, what I would do, and I'll go ahead and kind of speed this up. It's a T-shank adaptation, so I could take the file out. And then I got these aftermarket at Home Depot. This is a Lennox General Wood T-shank saw blade, which is larger than the Leatherman option, and it cuts better. So then you could keep, and I'll show you here in this sheath here, I have two of the General Wood blades and I have two metal blades or hacksaw blades. So that gives me ability to now cut larger branches faster. Obviously it's longer than the Leatherman, so it's not going to close. So you'd have to take it out before you close it. But this gives you an option to process wood and branches up to a decent thickness, and as well as, I'll show you here. So this is a Lennox thin metal blade. So if you're trying to cut through any kind of metal too. So it just gives you more options. You have the file for file work as well as sharpening, a wood and then metal blade in this package. So this would all provide you with a first layer cutting tool that has multiple dimensions and multiple options of use. Okay, so if you don't want to go with a multi-tool or a fixed blade knife for your first layer cutting tool, you could always just go with something simple like a folding knife or a smaller fixed blade knife. It doesn't give you as many options as the Leatherman does, but it does give you the ability to cut, and you can also use this to baton some smaller diameter branches. This is the Benchmade Griptillian with the CPM 20 CV blade. So that's just another option, folding knife for your first layer of cutting tool. I think I would prefer, honestly, the multi-tool just because of all the different combinations of tools and things that I could use. And I live in a more urban setting, so this would be more useful to me than a fixed blade knife. So this would be my first layer cutting tool of the 20Cs of Bugout Survival. Okay, so for number 2, combustion, a way to start fire. As you saw, if I'm gonna go ahead and go with my Leatherman Surge for my first layer, then the sheath here, I went ahead and included a Exotac, I believe this is the XL ferro rod. And the reason why I like this one is because it has, in addition to having a decent sized ferro rod, I went ahead and applied some Gorilla Tape here, but it does have a little compartment in the back that you can store some tinder. So it's got the O-ring seal, as you can see there. And then I have some tinder quick tabs, or at least one tinder quick tab in there. So that gives me the ability to, rather than try to feather stick or find tinder, I now have the tinder wick and the Gorilla Tape that I can use to strike sparks onto to start a fire. So that is my first layer of combustion item. Another option, and I'll show you that here in a second. Okay, another option if you're not super proficient with the ferro rod is just a simple Bic lighter. So this is an Exotac Bic sleeve with a full-size Bic lighter. And what this does is it provides a waterproof housing for the Bic lighter so that if you drop it in water, it won't waterlog the Bic lighter. I went ahead and modified this so it's got about 3 feet roll of Gorilla Tape, 1 inch on the bottom, and then I went ahead and did my waxed jute wrap around the outside. I've shown this in previous videos, and I can put a link above. I also wrapped some electrical tape around the top as well, and then there's a reflective orange tape here in case I drop it. I know it's a lot of orange here, so I'm not going to lose it. And then Exotac TinderZip, I believe that's what it's called. I'll put the link above and below. But this is basically another option for fire tinder. So multiple options for combustion here, including flame and then tinder. And then you can go ahead and pair this with something like this. This is the Überleben wax jute with a little bellows. So basically this provides you with the ability to have extended reach. I'll go ahead and demonstrate this now. For your fire, just light that up. And then now you can go ahead, let that get going, light fires, whatnot, and then just pull that bellows forward, it puts it out. So now you have the ability to have some tinder. I can then use this also for if I do have a ferro rod, and then use this to light it. So those are options for combustion devices. If you're not proficient with the ferro rod, very compact, all right here, and gives you plenty of fire. Okay, so for number 3, we have cover, and this is just basically for shelter. First layer item, this is what I would go with. This is a SOL HD blanket. It's a Mylar blanket, but it's a heavier duty Mylar, so it's not gonna rip, and it's a little bit larger than your standard Mylar blanket. This is what I would go with for my first layer of cover. I can use this in conjunction with the cordage and the cargo tape to create a shelter over top to prevent rain from hitting me. I can also wrap myself in this in front of a fire to contain body heat, but this is a good first layer item for shelter. I just wrap it with these Ranger bands. Okay, next is container. So typically people go with a metal canteen for this. It gives you the ability to boil water and store water as well. This is a single walled Klean Kanteen bottle. This is what people go with. This would be a good option, but I'm here to show you some other possible options. So this is a Grail nesting cup for the Grail GeoPress. Basically the same thing. If you needed to, you could boil water to cook with or to cleanse the water. And then it gives you a top too. So if you're trying to simmer it's got a way to strain there as well. So this is another option for container. And if you are going with the Grail for your clear water, number 10, then this would be good because you can just provide, it's low profile, as in the Grailness in it with the lid close by. So that's another option for a container. And then if you're trying to go real low profile, this is a HydraPak 3-liter bladder. So if you have a way to purify water, say if you had a Grail or something like that, you could then purify the water on the fly and then pour it into the HydraPak bladder for long-term storage. Go ahead and pull this out of here. But the goal would be, first layer should be multi-use item. This is not super multi-use because all it is really good for is storing water, whereas the canteen you can boil water as well. It's more heavy duty, but that's what that looks like, just a way to store water. So for me, for my container, I would probably go with something like the canteen because it gives me the most options. And then when it comes to a secondary container, then I could go with something like the Grail nesting cup. But first layer item for me is the single-walled stainless canteen. Okay, so for our fifth item, our fifth C of the 20 C's of Bugout Survival is going to be cordage. This is very important because cordage is hard to create in the wild on the fly. What I go with for my first layer, this is a Titan Survivor cord. This is a 100 feet section here. Basically, it's 550 cord. It has a slightly higher breaking strength, so 650 pounds. And the reason for that is the inner strands here, it contains more than just the standard nylon. So you have some brass wire, snare wire, some fishing line, monofilament fishing line, wax jute for fire starting. I believe that's it. And then as well as your standard strands of nylon, which you can take those down even further from our smaller diameter cordage. So 100 feet of the Survivor cord gives me a lot of different options for cordage. I can keep it all together. I can cut a section, remove the sheath, use the sheath as well as the inner strands for different things. So multi-use, and this is what I would go with for my cordage. But other options here would be something like a handcuff bank line. A little bit less options. You can unwind this to make it into smaller diameter bank line, but I do like the 550 Survivor cord as my cordage. So that is what I'm going to go with for my first layer of cordage for my 20C Bugout Survival Kit. All right, number 6, cotton bandana. This is a multi-use item. What I've gone with for this, for me, is a cotton Shemagh. This is a little bit larger than a regular cotton bandana and can be used for covering your head, as well as you can filter water, create char cloth, cut this up for bandages. Just gives you a lot of different options. I like the gray because it's kind of gray man, so to speak. I mean, as much as you can be with the Shemagh. But that's what I would go with for my cotton bandana. Another option would be something like this. This is from the Pathfinder School Self-Reliance Outfitters. So it's a cotton bandana. They can provide, or it gives you the possibility of filtering water, bandages, as well as signal. So, but my preferred option for first layer cotton bandana is going to be this gray Shemagh. Number 7 is compass. A lot of different options you can go with. I chose to go with the Suunto MC2 compass. The reason is that it has a mirror for signaling, as well as a magnifying glass for starting fires and magnifying things. It is a sight compass, gives you rough directions. Obviously you want to include this with a map, but if you don't have a map, you can use this for rough navigation. And then I went ahead and include these pace speeds here, just to give you a rough estimate of how far you're traveling. I then put this reflective DOT tape on the outside, so if I'm lost somewhere at night and someone's searching for me with a flashlight, I can use this to signal them, and then the mirror could be for signaling during the day. But this is my preferred option for a compass. There's a lot of other options out there, but first layer compass is going to be the Suunto. All right, for Candlepower, basically just lighting. what I've chosen to go with, and yeah, I'm sure you saw it earlier on my Surge case, is the Ace Beam Pokelet AA. The reason I like this is it has the two-way pocket clip, and then it has a very good moonlight mode. So this is going to last for several days, and then you can also dial it up for brighter light. But I really do like the moonlight mode. Another reason I chose this one is that in addition to being a AA battery, which is common, this AA battery it comes with is rechargeable with a USB-C. So I can recharge this if I have the ability to, or I can have spare batteries close by that I can then throw in until I have the ability to recharge. So bright color orange in case I drop it, but that is my Candlepower option right there. First layer is the Ace Beam Pokelet AA. Okay, so for cargo tape and canvas needle, basically repair items, I went with this Exotac Ripspool. This has everything you need to satisfy this category. It has the 5 feet of cargo tape on the outside, as well as, I don't remember, but it's a lot of feet of this braided fishing line, which you can use with this sail needle on the inside if you unscrew it. So it's a waterproof little compartment here. It's got a rubber O-ring, but it's got this sail needle or canvas needle for use in conjunction with the braided line for repair. And it's all wrapped up in this, around this milled aluminum bright orange housing. You can get different colors, but it also does have the Exotac TinderZip little zipper pull here that's got some fire tinder on the inside. But that is what I went with to satisfy the cargo tape and canvas needle. Okay, so lastly, clear water. The reason why I added this is because obviously you can, if you have a metal container, you can boil water to purify it. The downside of that is if you're on the fly, if you're walking, if you're traveling, it takes a while to build a fire, sit there while the water boils, and then let it cool off. So it's not really a fast process. So in addition to having the container and the ability to boil water, I wanted to have the ability to purify water while traveling. Obviously this is a bug out bag, so we're going to be bugging out and moving. So we wanted the ability to purify water. What I went with is the Grail GeoPress, showed it earlier, but this is a great filter. Filters several hundred gallons of water, and the good thing is it removes viruses, bacteria, cysts, cryptosporidium, as well as heavy metals. So it basically gets it all. And the way this works is basically, I have the instruction manual inside, but you would fill this up with the dirty water. You would then, that's the filter on the bottom, place that inside, and then unscrew the top to the designated section, and then you would push down, and then that would purify the water, and now you have purified water on the inside. So you can use this multiple times to drink, and then place the rest of the water if you did have a metal canteen for storage. But this, I think, is vitally important in a bug out scenario. There's other options out there. There's the squeeze filters, there's pump filters and things. Another option too I have here is this little canvas Millbank bag. So this is designed to be used in conjunction with this. So what you would do is fill this up with dirty water, pond water, that you don't want to clog up your filter with, and then you would let it drip out into the cup, and then you would filter it from there. But you can use this in and of itself. If you have sand and charcoal, you can fill this up and create your own little filter, which should work pretty well. And then on the inside here, I included some of these potable aqua tabs and then some water reservoirs from Wazoo Survival. Just additional ways to make sure the water is purified. This bag is more of a water filter, I would say, but can be used to create purified clear water in conjunction with everything else. But for me, for my first line, I'm going to go with the Grail just because it's so effective and useful. All right, that's it for my first 10 C's of bug out survival. Stay tuned for my second 10 C's as well as additional layers. Thanks. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and stay tuned for more.